what is happening in Gaza, the declaration of Israel saying the quiet part out loud. Thank God, Brother Tavis, just before our show was digging into that. We're going to dig into that a little deeper in terms of just fully making it known they want to take over the entirety of the Gaza Strip. And right here on our own soil, a young black child, a Somalian child to be exact, black child, was called the N word on a playground by a white woman who appears to be a mother. She had a baby in her arm, and she, in the video, said that this young black boy took something out of her baby's bag. Turns out that that little boy has autism. Whether or not he had autism or not is not the issue. The fact is, little black boy, a young child, and whether or not it was fitting for this white woman to refer to him as the N word. And when an adult interceded, proudly put out there that he was acting like one, so that's what she called him. What does that say about her as a woman, as a mother? But more importantly, what does that say about America itself? Before we get to any of that, the doctor is in the house. Dr. West, what is on your heart, your soul, and your mind on this day?
My dear sister, it's a blessing to make it through the weekend in one's right mind.
Amen.
We are living in some treacherous times. There's no doubt about it. And I keep going back to Malcolm X's last speech that he gave in Rochester, New York, February 16th, 1965. He said there's been a 400-year war against black people.
Yes.
It means is that you can't panic. You got to get fortified. It means that the first casualty in any war is truth. So if you don't muster the courage to truth, there's a good chance that you're going to kowtow to the lies and illusions that will hide and conceal what's coming at you. So that one of the reasons why we call this truth time, and I know that's Brother Travis's magnificent formulation. You know, his genius is boundless in a lot of different ways. But we
Amen.
immediately, because it was highly timely, to have a show called Truth Time. And the first thing that any people in a war where our precious babies are being bombarded psychically and spiritually, not crushed in many ways, their spirits dampened and often in some cases broken, you got to have the shield of truth. And if you're not willing to speak the truth, then you're not going to be an all-season soldier. You're going to be a little summer soldier that shows up here or there, then runs back when the intensity of the war begins to hit in an undeniable way. The relation between what's going on in Gaza, there's not only been a war, there's been a genocide. There's not only been a war, there's been an ethnic cleansing. There's not only been a war, there's been apartheid-like conditions for decades after decades. Who wants to tell the truth? CNN doesn't want to tell it. They don't call it a genocide. MSNBC don't want to tell it. They don't want to call it a genocide. Who wants to tell the truth? We're not putting others down by telling the truth. Not at all. And we know if it was happening to white folk and Jewish folk, they would have called it a genocide the second day. Trump administration called it a genocide against white farmers who are 7% of the population on 70% of the land. And when they get assaulted and attacked, they call that a genocide. But I don't believe any innocent folk ought to be assaulted and attacked. That's a moral question. It's a spirit. But we can tell the truth as to what the structures are and who is suffering. 70% of Gaza right now is uninhabitable. 13 universities destroyed and demolished, and not one university professor in America has said a mumbling word. Now, what does that show in terms of their commitment to universities? Oh, no, it's just certain universities, not universities in on the West Bank. No, you can destroy every brick, every laboratory, every dorm. They won't say a mumbling word. What does that say? They're afraid of the truth. And so it is with this sister calling this little brother the N-word. Of course, this kind of thing happens all the time. You know, the press going to highlight it because what she got $500,000 or something like that, $500,000 overnight
So far.
So forth, he said. But that kind of thing happens all the time. We know that. And we know the white sister don't speak on behalf of all white folk. No, not at all. But too many of them succumb. Too many of them defer. But on a continuum, this means what? It means truth telling, truth seeking, willingness to sacrifice, courage, not just to tell the truth, but the courage to fight, the courage to serve, the courage to sacrifice. Now, this is something that we talk about in many ways, day after day on our wonderful show that we have together. And again, we thank Brother Tavis, but we want to thank the Lord too. I want to thank God too, very much so. But if we don't have more fortified folk who want to tell the truth, then the fascists going to take over all around the world. Yeah. The fascism was predicated on the efficacy of lies and the breaking the back of truth tellers, because you want to make them too scared and too fearful to tell the truth, and you want to make it too painful for them to want to fight, too punishing to want to fight. And there will always be truth tellers and truth seekers. There'll always be love warriors and freedom fighters, but we need so many more of them.
Yeah, we do, Doc. We need real impact. I want people to wrestle with as we come on the other side. The first casualty in any war is the truth. You are listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. When we come forward, we will continue this discussion.
Speaking truth to power and to the powerless. This is Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. If you missed our KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall, the Altadena Eden Fire, 100 Days and Counting, you missed an evening of reverence, reflection, and reality.
You got to live in the reality, because this is it. Every day you wake up, is this my life? Don't stay in denial, because yes, it is. Don't stay in bargaining where you're praying for a miracle, and if it wouldn't have happened, then this is what I would have done. It did.
Our panel participants kept it real. Really real.
I think, number one, it's amazing to me how we ignore systemic racism in our community. And as a people, we've apologized for so much. But when will we stop apologizing for what we have paid for? Because the truth of the matter is, we paid for this.
You can always count on KBLA Talk 1580 to give it to you straight, no chaser. When you love folk, you tell them the truth. Seeking the truth, speaking the truth. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with a Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27, and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
To thine own self be true. More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner coming your way right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, so here we are. We're talking about what is happening in Gaza and what is the headlines for now in this moment. And we know that there have been ebbs and flows on this particular story for far too many media outlets. But for those who are fighting for truth and justice, those who are pro-peace, anti-war, they have never waned on their commitment. And we are blessed to have so many groups in this country, so many individuals and people all over the world who truly understand what's happening. NBC News reported on this: no safe place left in Gaza as Israel's humanitarian zone shrink. They've been shrinking for quite some time, Doc. This is not new. And so when we talk about the casualties, both people who've been hurt, people who've been killed, we know that those numbers are underestimated because it's kind of hard in that type of environment to get exact numbers, but well over 50,000 people killed. This is men, women, and children. I know a lot of times we like to qualify women and children hoping that people's hearts would soften more when we talk about the deaths of children or we talk about the deaths of women. I want to talk about the deaths of whole family units. That includes men. I have a son, and I want somebody to care about my son being killed just as well as if I had a daughter. I have men in my life that I love, and your lives mean everything too. So whole family units have been murdered in the Gaza. And then that's only part of the story. The fact that you have millions of people living in famine, they can't get supplies in, no medicine. We think about dirty water, what happens there, vermin, all kinds of famine and just desolence is happening in the Gaza right now. And to know that the safe zones, the so-called safe zones they're shrinking. So an NBC News analyst of maps, evacuation orders, and statements released by the Israeli Defense Forces, as well as interviews with experts, humanitarian workers, and civilians, show that people have been pushed into increasingly crowded areas. And Doc, we know what happens psychologically and physically when that number of people are pushed into any one area. Israel broke its fragile truce with Hamas on March 18th, and it's been going strong ever since. And then along with regular airstrikes and ground operations, its military has also moved to secure more of the enclave, which nearly 500,000 Palestinians in Gaza have been newly displaced. The United Nations is reporting on all of this. So no safe place to go, very little food, very little medicine. People are starving right now, Doc. Right now, this is happening in real time. And still, the United States of America has not mustered the moral fortitude to stand up and say to Israel what you are doing wrong. I want to remind our viewers that from President Biden, it started with him. So it's not just about President Donald J. Trump. We are violating international law as a nation, and we're violating our own laws in the United States of America, particularly the Leahy Law and also the Foreign Assistance Act 620I, which is very clear that when a nation that we give armaments to are hurting civilian populations, that the President of the United States of America must act on behalf of those civilian populations and refuse to give any more weapons to said country, no matter what country it is. But from Biden to this moment, Doc, nothing has happened. And Palestinian lives absolutely do not matter. Just in case somebody was wondering, they don't matter. And their lives are a representation of any of our lives, because just sub any of us in at any given time, depending on who the leader is and what power determines who's worthy and who's not worthy. It could be any of us.
That's exactly right, my sister. Just let those words seep and soak in. Sink in and soak in. You think about Black folk under slavery and under neo-slavery, Black lives did not matter. Black humanity did not count. Palestinians since 1948, their lives do not matter. Palestinians don't count. For the powers that be, not for us, but for the powers that be. And we have to be very, very clear about this, that the United States is in denial of. The United States is sponsoring a genocide. The U.S. government is authorizing a genocide in denial about the genocide. Both parties are complicitous. Both parties, for the most part, are under a stranglehold owing to big money coming out of AIPAC, which is the lobby to ensure there's not a serious substantive public conversation in quest of the truth about the suffering in the Middle East, and specifically the suffering of Palestinians. And anytime we raise our voices, we're viewed as anti-Jewish, we're viewed as anti-Semitic, we're viewed as pro-Hamas, we're viewed as terrorists, and they try to silence us, they try to scare us, they try to keep us fearful, and we do not succumb. We will tell the truth, and we would tell the truth if it were the other way around. If the
Absolutely.
Jewish, 25,000 Jewish babies. But let us be very clear. that if Palestinians were killing 25,000 Jewish babies in a matter of months, the U.S. government would be supporting a Jewish version of Hamas. They would be supporting the liberation forces, providing guns for them, providing military equipment for them, and they would be called freedom fighters. Now, I just happen to believe that, you don't kill innocent folk. That's murder. Murder is murder. I happen to believe that a baby, if whoever that baby is, Palestinian, Israeli, black, white, red, has the same value, the same significance. You say it over and over again to let folk know that's where we coming from. Morally and spiritually, that's where we're coming from, a universalism. But in the specific case, the anti-Palestinian racism is so thick and it cuts so deep that people can't even become outraged or translate it into action, because both political parties have completely been dominated by this organization, a set of organizations. The Christian evangelicals have played a very important role in this regard. It's not just conservative Jewish brothers and sisters. And thank God for the progressive Jewish brothers and sisters who are willing to tell the truth and willing to speak in a serious way. But the Christian evangelicals have played a crucial role here too, ensuring that there's not a public conversation in quest of truth about what is happening in Gaza. And the condition of truth is always to allow suffering to speak.
Yeah, amen, Doc. Even so much so, these people are willing to give up some of our rights in the United States, one being the First Amendment, the constitutional right to free speech. This Congress is looking to pass, certainly this president through executive order, to make it really a crime for any American, any organization to speak out against Israel. I was just reading something about some boycott stuff that they want to make it illegal for folks to boycott Israel or to talk about that. You know, we know as Black people, certainly the power of boycott has helped us advance our rights over here in this country. But the point is that people are so, I don't know what to call it, seduced, because I'm thinking about the everyday people who are not in office, who are not getting money from big money interests to have a certain point of view. I mean, your point about the Congress being captured, the presidency is captured, other levels of government are captured by big money. We do need campaign finance reform. Citizens United just wreaked havoc on our political system that was already fragile to begin with. But once the Supreme Court made money speech, they just threw any opportunities out the window to try to really do something to ensure that elected officials are not bought off. But we are in a system in the United States of America where it is legal to bribe elected officials, and big money interests do it all the time. It's not just AIPAC. You have the NRA, the National Rifle Association, or the NRA, for example, the National Restaurant Association, that won't, for example, allow us to increase the sub-minimum wage in this country, where people who serve food at restaurants can make a living wage in the United States of America. All of those things, those just few, the military-industrial complex, those who lobby against us having universal health care. It goes on and on, Doc. AIPAC and DMFI is just one of those interest groups who are in full control of our Congress.
That's true. And we don't want to leave media out, and we don't want to leave universities out. I find it interesting that with all the talk about academic freedom and freedom of expression and so forth, you go into most of these universities, in the classes that they teach. Look at Harvard, for example, the Kennedy School. How many voices at the Kennedy School are voices for the Palestinian cause? Hardly any. Brother Kenneth Ross, Jewish brother himself, very progressive. When he was even appointed there, it was a controversy. And they say, oh, well, you got the dogmatism of the liberals and the neo. Yes, there's dogmatism among liberals and neo. Yes, any camp has dogmatism, left, right, center. But they don't want to deal with the dogmatisms when it comes to certain issues. One of the reasons I got pushed out of Harvard was what? I'm faculty advisor for the Students for Justice in Palestine, just like I was faculty advisor for the Black Gospel Choir, Kuumba. No. As soon as I raise my voice, trying to even get a room at Harvard, it's difficult to even get a room for an event at Harvard when it comes to Palestinians. And yet, when you get a student protest movement against genocide, what happens? The focus is on offending the Jewish students' feelings. That becomes a major issue. Now, of course, you want to respect all students. That includes Jewish students. They're just as precious as anybody else. But is that the major priority when you're dealing with a genocide taking place? Only if you deny the genocide, and if Palestinian lives don't matter, and if you're much more concerned with anti-Jewish racism than you are anti-Palestinian racism. And we ain't even talking about anti-Black racism. Oh, Lord have mercy. That's not even on the list.
No, and that is the original on this soil. Let's center that. That the oppression of generations of Black people happened on this soil to Africans and then their American descendants. And this country has never, we've never had truth and reconciliation, no talk about reparations at all. What Bayard Rustin, one of the great civil rights leaders and architects, once said, that this country never has and never will do anything solely for the Negro. Him bearing witness to the conundrum that we face as Black people in America. Let's know Marcus Garvey, Fannie Lou Hamer, so many others, Doc, that we talk about on a regular basis. We call on their genius to remind us of the situation that we're in. And as you started off earlier in the show about Minister Malcolm X in 1965, laying it down, how Black people are treated is the canary in the coal mine for every other marginalized group in this country. And dare I say the world, Doc, Black people fully understand what the Palestinians are going through. I mean, fully understand. I mean, there's a collective memory, not that generation that's living now, but there's a collective memory about how Black people were treated, are treated, what's in law, what's de facto, and what's de jure, and having very few people willing to come to our rescue. I mean, it took hundreds of years for that to be so. And even in the 21st century, we're still under attack as a people.
But there's still not enough Black leaders like yourself and others who will tell the truth about the Palestinian situation and connect it to the situation of Black folk. Most of the Black leaders and elected officials are not going to say a mumbling word about genocide in Gaza when it comes to precious Palestinian brothers. They're not going to say a mumbling word about the ethnic cleansing. They just running scared. Let's just be honest about it. They afraid. They terrified. And we understand because, they're up against some very, very powerful forces. Ain't no doubt about that. But on the other hand, if you're not going to be a leader, then get out of the way.
That's it, Doc. And stop taking their money. There's so many things that can be done. And it's not just the AIPAC. Just stop taking dark money altogether. And don't answer to your owner donors. Answer to the people who put you in office. Whatsoever things that are good, whatsoever things that are just, thinking about a song in our Black spiritual tradition, think on those things, act on those things. And it is the height of immorality. Not only the height of immorality, what is happening and what has happened, starting with the Biden administration, is, even if people don't want to look at it, Doc, from a moral lens, which I don't see how you can't, but even if you don't, for those who are so law and order inclined, what is happening and how the United States, the money, our tax dollars are being used to bomb other people's families and level their communities. Our money is being used to do these things. So we are breaking our own laws and our international pact, the international laws that countries say we're going to comport ourselves by are being broken too. So where are all them law and order folks, Doc? That's what I want to know. Where are they?
That's where the hypocrisy really kicks in, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, stunningly, spectacularly, it kicks in.
Unbelievable. Which means in the end, the powers that be, Republicans or Democrats, they don't really care about international law. They don't care about human rights. They don't care. They don't care.
What Brother Michael Jackson say, Doc, they don't really care about us. I think that song is, we've been calling on Brother Mike over the last few weeks, some of his songs. You are listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner when we come forward, we're going to continue this conversation. We're also going to delve into the black child that was called the N-word by this white woman who is a mother holding her baby in her arms. This is Truth Time.
The truth will set you free, but first it might raise your blood pressure.
I'm not driving you, man.
More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Jury selection is underway in Sean Diddy Combs' federal sex trafficking case in Manhattan. Some New Yorkers say they'd struggle to be fair jurors.
Not really, because I'm pretty sure I'd be biased if it's involving women and trafficking. So I think I'd have a little bias there.
He's accused of racketeering, kidnapping, and coercing women for his sexual desires. Agents found drugs and baby oil at his homes. Diddy pleaded not guilty and rejected a plea deal. Closing arguments are set in the trial of 3 former Memphis, Tennessee officers charged in Tyree Nichols' deadly beating. A police trainer admitted the force used was excessive. None of the officers testified, and prosecutors say the 2023 video speaks for itself. And Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass says she'll take a pay cut and delay staff raises as the city faces a budget crisis. Her office will skip cost of living increases through next June. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Uh-oh. She's looking at the cigarettes, but she just grabs the gum off the counter. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Like LeBron, Clippers guard James Harden is facing a June 29 deadline to accept a player option for next season. Harden, who turns 36 in August, is scheduled to make $36 million next season with the Clippers. If Harden declines his player option, he can become a free agent. It will be interesting to see what kind of market will be out there for Harden after his disappointing performance Saturday in Game 7 at Denver. 7 points on 2 for 8 shooting. Harden still had a decent season with 22.8 points per game and 8.7 assists, which ranked 5th in the NBA. Less than 2 weeks after the NFL draft, Travis Hunter, Cam Ward, and Shedeur Sanders ranked 1, 2, and 3 in jersey sales among NFL draft picks. Ward was the number 1 overall pick by the Tennessee Titans. Hunter was taken at number 2 by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Sanders was not selected until the 5th round by Cleveland. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. With so many shows on our station weekdays and weekends, it's hard for me to keep track of all the guests who are actually in studio on any given day. I wish I'd known in advance that LADA Nathan Hochman was coming in studio for a recent interview. Had I known, I would have loved to have personally greeted him and then asked him why LA City Council member Curran Price is being criminally prosecuted for allegations of misconduct similar to the conflict of interest violations for which former City Council member Kevin De Leon is only being fined. What's that about, Mr. DA? In fairness to Mr. Hochman, it was former DA George Gascon who actually filed felony charges against Councilman Price. I opined then on how these criminal charges against Price did not pass the smell test. I was concerned then that this was yet another wayward prosecution of a high-profile black elected, not to mention a waste of taxpayer money. I am even more convinced now that this is a hot mess. To be clear, neither you or I want a bunch of self-serving, greedy, conflict of interest criminals managing the people's business inside LA City Hall. But we also don't want selective or targeted prosecution of black politicians. We've seen that movie before, and we don't need a sequel. It's hard to watch Kevin De Leon get away with paying an $18,000 fine for repeated ethics violations, what he calls an oversight. And at the same time, watch the DA's office continue its criminal prosecution of Kern Price for issues allegedly involving his wife's clients. Motions, I might add, that were passed unanimously by the LA City Council. What are you saying, Tavis? I'm glad you asked. DA Hochman did not start this inquisition, but he certainly has the power to stop it. I have said it before, and I will say it again. Fundamental fairness. In the absence of fundamental fairness, we experience a cascade of deteriorating conditions. The erosion of trust, the weakening of social cohesion, alienation, marginalization, the legitimacy of authority diminishes, cynicism and disengagement grow, and ultimately, people abandon civic participation altogether. Fundamental fairness, Mr. Hochman, that's all we ask. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent, and the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember,
No warrant, no key. My privacy. You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside. Don't say a thing. Yeah, we all got rights.
Hey, we all got rights.
This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
I don't want you to be late getting her, baby. If I could drive, I would. Yes. So, Doc, we're going to do what we do around this time to see what folks are saying in her YouTube chat before we carry on. And we have Blessed Peacemaker. Great to see you again, Senator Turner and Dr. West. Senator Turner, thank you for your bold voice of truth on the insanity of the forever war industry. Thank you, Dr. West, for speaking up for Palestinian lives. B. Bell of Bad Dog Bullies. Good afternoon. A little late to class, but I am here with prayer hands. You all know I get tickled about B. Bell of Bad Dog Bullies. We got Terrence Allen Duncan, great show leaders. Morris Phillips. Good afternoon, Dr. West and Senator Turner. Stay strong. Rebecca, I don't even want to mess up your last name. So we got Rebecca A in the house. This is happening even though both the Torah and the Talmud teach that every life is a universe. So, Doc, I want to stay there with what Sister Rebecca is saying about the teachings of the great books, the Torah and also the Talmud, and what it says about the value of lives, of everybody's life. Thank you for that, Sister Rebecca.
Absolutely. No, it's a sad affair that when you actually look at the profound teachings of our Jewish brothers and sisters, you look at the Torah, you look at the interpretations of the Holy Scriptures as it comes out of Judaism, it is a critique of Zionism, because the practice of Zionism is one in which they believe in the supremacy of Jews over non-Jews. That's why they want to create a whole state in which there's Jewish supremacy over the rule of non-Jews and Jews together. No, Jews must be supreme. They must have supremacy. That's what a Jewish state is. It will be democratic to the degree to which it ensures Jewish supremacy. It would be similar to a state that has a Christian supremacy. Most Americans would say no. A white supremacy, a male supremacy, a Islamic supremacy, an Arab supremacy, a Palestinian supremacy. No, we want a nation state that treats all citizens with dignity. And Judaism has always argued that each and every life is precious, or as they say, a universe, as it were.
Yeah, we thank Sister Rebecca for that, laying that out like that. That was beautiful. We got Brother Morris Phillips, blessed, having conversation between him and Blessed Peacemaker. Blessed Peacemaker informing us that there are veterans groups that are planning a June 6th protest in DC. And we do know that there are many veteran groups who are pro-peace, anti-war. And I think they might have something to say about that. They might have some experience with forever war. So we thank our veteran groups for standing up in that way. Brother Morris Phillips again saying whoever controls the narrative controls the narrative. That is so true. So who's controlling the narrative? Who's in control? Who's in power? And also that I'm fighting the good fight. We got a lot of people who are in here, Doc, understanding the nature of our show, how we bring these probing questions to bear with solutions, but also letting people know we're wrestling with this just like everybody else is wrestling with this. One thing, though, that we are 100% assured of is that all life is precious and that there should be a humanitarian bent to everything that we do. And that doesn't mean that if people do things wrong, we have supposed to have a system in place to deal with people who trample on other people's rights, their bodily rights, their human rights, all of that. When we engage in war and beyond war, this is absolute genocide. It is ethnic cleansing by any definition at this point. Let's say people didn't believe it in the beginning, Doc. I can't understand why there's anybody not understanding what is happening now. Certainly what happened on October the 7th, and we say it over and over and over again. What Hamas did to those innocent Israeli civilians was wrong all day long, should never have happened. We condemn it. All of that. Got it. Now we fast forward to what is happening today to innocent civilians in the Gaza, innocent Palestinian civilians. And some on that side have no compassion for those people. They're justifying it, even to this moment.
Oh, that's true. That's very true. And going back to, I mean, even you look at the controversy over at Harvard when Larry Summers, who wants to act as if he's some kind of vanguard and the cutting edge for free university and a free society. But I'm told that he said that just by using the term Nakbar, that you're an anti-Semite. And that's just telling the truth about the catastrophic effects of the 750,000 Arabs who were pushed out of their villages, their homes, their neighborhoods. It's called the Nakba. Just using that term in the Harvard context shows you've got some anti-Semitic sensibility, which means you can't tell the truth.
Doc, you took the words right out of my mouth. They just might as well say you cannot tell the truth and that they are qualifying whose lives are worthy compared to somebody else. Now, that's the truth.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And Harvard's the last place ought to be acting if they on the cutting edge. When was it just women minute? They've been around since 1836. No, 1836.
Yeah.
First black was 1870. University around 1636. The depths of the racism and the sexism is such. And then all of a sudden, DEI becomes a major cause and a major catalyst. You say, no, wait, we have our critiques of DEI. We have a flexibility and an honesty in our critiques, but we also understand when we see outright mendacity.
And that's Doc, that mendacity cannot go unanswered. I mean, certainly diversity, equity, inclusion, which there should be nothing wrong with on the diverse, equitable, inclusive organizations and country. I mean, what is wrong with that? That in and of itself is just insane to me. But also knowing that the system itself, whether it's affirmative action or this, was never perfect. That doesn't give them the right to take us back in time. We try to make better that foundational point. I hate to call it a foundational point because they're all types of things wrong with the diversity, equity, inclusion as it was set up and affirmative action as it was set up. We know it did not benefit Black people the most. No reason though to go backwards. I mean, we absolutely going backward. We don't even have like a little plank to stand on anymore because of what the Trump administration is doing out loud in our face.
I mean, if they can't come forward and say, this is how we're going to treat black people fairly and justly, instead of saying, we're really not interested in that question. We're concerned about whether white folk are being discriminated against. Well, nobody wants to discriminate against anybody. We just want to make sure that the folk who have been discriminated and degraded and demeaned for 400 years are treated fairly.
That's it. They don't want to deal with that. This country has never wanted to deal with that at all. Again, what our dear brother said, this country never has and never will do anything solely for black people. They cannot come to the reckoning with that. So, we're going to be wrestling with that. We've been wrestling with it for generations and we continue to do so. You are listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. When we come forward, we got some more wrestling to do.
It's Truth Time with Dr. Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD. But did you know that black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? You may be able to reduce your risk by managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure, being physically active, eating healthy, and exercising your mind. To learn more about AD, the importance of early diagnosis and intervention, and a potential treatment option, visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
KBLA Talk 1580 and the California Black Chamber of Commerce invite you to the Small Business Development Workshop, How to Do Business with California Government, on Thursday, May 15th at Victory Park in Pasadena, 2575 Paloma Street. Get certified and register as a new bidder. Sell products and services to the state. Learn about pre-bid events and more, and it's all free. All you have to do is sign up at www.calbcc.org. That's www.calbcc.org. Registration for the Small Business Development Workshop, How to Do Business with California Government, begins at 9 a.m. and the workshop concludes at 1 p.m. on Thursday, May 15th at Victory Park in Pasadena, 2575 Paloma Street. This is a community call to action from the California Black Chamber of Commerce and KBLA Talk 1580.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent, and the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember,
no warrant, no key, my privacy. You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside. Don't say a thing. Yeah, we all got rights.
Hey, we all got rights.
Truth shall rise again. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Absolutely. Truth Crush the Earth shall rise again. Dog, we got to forever hold that as much as we are wrestling here. Just a few more comments, Doc, and then we got this other story that we need to jump to. Blessed Peacemaker has a question for you. First of all, Blessed Peacemaker wants us to go on the Truth Time tour across the country. I think a whole bunch of people will amen that. I appreciate that, Blessed Peacemaker. I see your comments in here about
give Beyonce a call. Say, hey, give us a little time on the tour.
Give us a little time on the tour. That would set it off real right.
Kendrick Lamar too. God bless both of them. God bless both of them.
Absolutely, all of that. And then Blessed Peacemaker has a question. Senator Turner, please ask Dr. West about his favorite protest and or anti-war songs. People are here guessing on what you might say, but I'm gonna what say you, Doc?
Nina Simone, Mississippi, goddamn.
Ooh. Amen. If you have not heard that song, we encourage you to go and listen to it, baby. It will do something for you. Some people guessed that you would say something about from the great Stevie Wonder.
Oh, they haven't done nothing. They haven't done nothing.
All of that. There's so many though that really set us up for this moment. Is really kind of hard to say. And, you know, Doc, just briefly, and I know we don't have all the time in the world to cover this, but, you know, it was 55 years ago that Kent State students were murdered were murdered for protesting against the Vietnam War. Kent State University right here in the great state of Ohio. There were other students injured, you know, people injured before, students just absolutely killed. And we must never forget that when people stand up for peace and justice like that, that there are physical consequences to doing that. And that is what happened here in the great state of Ohio. We know anti-war protests were happening all over the country, but those students, Allison Crass, I think you pronounce her last name, 19 years old, Jeffrey Glenn Miller, 20 years old, Sandra Lee Schooner, 20 years old, and William Knox Schroner, 19 years old. And so we must stand against war and militarism and government attacks on protest, because we are reliving right now. We got students who are representations of those students going through some of the same things right now.
That's real. That's real. I think of Orangeburg, South Carolina, with South Carolina State saying, I think Jackson State College also had some folks shot.
Okay.
But absolutely right, though.
By the National Guard. Yeah, it was the National Guard. And you think about this president, Doc, I mean, he just signed in an executive order to really militarizing the police. Now, again, he's not the only one. Certainly, President Biden gave a lot of money to law enforcement. All of this duopoly has had this thing with militarizing, but he's the wolf in this case. He's being all up in the face. They're trying to undo consent decrees, which they legally have no authority to do. You have to go to a court to undo a consent decree, but in his executive orders, he can confuse people just enough to make them think that he has all of this authority. So hopefully the courts will hold firm. And remembering, a consent decree means that both parties consented to what has to transpire. But yeah, this just really some dangerous times. I don't know, this rivals McCarthyism.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I think it's beyond McCarthyism now, because McCarthyism didn't attack the very core of university, of education. It was trying to keep track of communists, and it was attacking the communists themselves. It was
in the 50s, right? In the 50s, I wanted to give our
1950. This was during the Cold War, and hysteria and paranoia having to do with communists everywhere. But what Trump is doing actually is attacking the very basis of media life, universe life. And he's doing it in the name of him expanding his power, his dictatorial power. And it's clear that he doesn't have, he has very little, if any, concern about the Constitution. It's simply something to be used and manipulated, or what he would say is weaponized against those.
So rule of law goes out the door really, really quickly. I want folks to wrap their minds around that. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. When we come forward, we will absolutely talk about the Black boy that was called the N-word by this white mother.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
Yeah, beautiful indeed. So, Doc, last week, now police are investigating a racial slur that was used against a young black boy. I think he's 4 or 5 years old, by a white woman who identified herself as a mother in a video. Thank God for a bystander who saw this little boy being bullied by this woman, called the N-word by her. He started taking video, asking her why was she treating this young black boy like she was. We now know what we didn't know then. He is familiar with the parents and also with the boy. Thank God he stepped up to save this little boy. She claims that he put his hands in a bag that belonged to her son. If you haven't seen the video, people should go back and watch the video. She's holding her son in her hand. And the reason why we know she's a mother is because in the video to Brother Omar, who's the Good Samaritan, she said that this boy was acting like an N. So she's going to call him an N. And she kept using the word over and over again. And that the young boy put his hand in her son's bag, or her child's bag. I think it's a son. Regardless, adults should not approach young kids like that. Let's say that the young boy was in the wrong. You go get their parents. And then 2, Doc, of all the things to call him, all of the ways to be angry, why did this white woman, this white mother, pick the N-word in particular? I think her choice of words is more revealing than the fact that her as a grown woman decided to approach a little boy in this way.
No, I think you're right. But the reality is that this kind of thing is happening all the time. I mean, it really is. And it's on a continuum with the Trump administration withholding $65 for Howard University. It's on a continuum that the legacy of white supremacy cuts very, very deep in every core of the country. That's why we have to be vigilant and resilient in our fight against it. But we must never, ever get discouraged. Let us be of great courage. So we tell that little brother, we love you. We tell the white sister, shame on you. We're not going to allow you to degrade our children like that. And we know you're not the only one.
No, and to that point, Doc, I think which is even more chilling that not only did she use this word strategically, and she knew what she was doing when she used the word, is that she has raised almost $500,000. It's probably over that right now. So what does that say about the people who donated? See, because it's so much bigger than her. As you said, this happens all the time. But you got over $500,000 raised. It's safe to say most of that money probably came from somebody that identifies as white. They probably identify as Christian, to our earlier conversation. What does that say? Shout out to the Rochester NAACP, who on the other end is raising money for that young boy and for his family. She went on to say to Omar, who he had never met, she told him and his wife that they shouldn't have any more children because they are drained on the welfare system. Again, this stereotype being attached to Black people This is a problem, Doc. This is what we're talking about the white supremacist mindset. Wow, our time is gone, Doc. We might have to talk about this again on the top of the show tomorrow, because it's a mentality that we're talking about that is so much bigger to this. Yes, our thoughts and prayers go out to this boy, his family, and also to the Good Samaritan, and to you. Live your life on purpose. Realize that titles are good, but purpose is better. Until next time.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News.
Price did not pass the smell test. I was concerned then that this was yet another wayward prosecution of a high-profile black elected, not to mention a waste of taxpayer money. I am even more convinced now that this is a hot mess. To be clear, neither you or I want a bunch of self-serving, greedy, conflict of interest criminals managing the people's business inside LA City Hall.